Hey up, you alright? I've just put a pie in the oven, which is going to take a good half hour, so I thought I'd do a video, and it's pretty much a follow on from one I did the other day regarding where are we heading in the world after this pandemic and the lockdown is lifted. What are people wanting, such like. And it's good watching other people's point of view, listening to what their ideas are, because this is what it should be. It should be a collective decision on how to improve our lives, I guess, and not be dictated to by those with an agenda. So what have I come up with? Well, if you think about it, before we move on and jump in with both feet, we need to be prepared. And I think the first step of being prepared for something new is to be able to cope with something new psychologically. Now this brings up quite a big problem, if you think about it, because over the past few decades, mental health has been at the forefront of everybody's mind. And so it should be. So it should be. But the problem arises on how it's been put over to the general public. How it's all unravelled over the last few years in how mental health should be treated or looked upon as well. Obviously, mental health has been an issue for centuries. And it is crucial that it is nurtured, and brought back to a good level of peace and harmony in order to be healthy, happy and healthy, mind, body and spirit and all that stuff, yeah? And all too often we can ignore our mental health. Now, as somebody who has suffered from a breakdown, whatever you want to call it, struggled with their mental health in the past, I think I'm in a good stead to speak about it and understand it. And basically what I'm trying to get through is mental health is not, in my opinion, portrayed in the media and mainly towards the younger generation as something that can be treated effectively. Now that might seem a bit controversial to some, but let me try and explain. It's not an easy subject to talk about, it's not an easy subject to understand and come up with good results. But think about it for a few minutes. What is emotions? What is mental health? And I'm particularly looking at depression and anxiety, because I've seen depression, the description of depression, go from what I would consider to be what depression is to something that is an opt-out. It's an easy train to jump aboard, if you like. Now, don't get me wrong, I am not in any way, shape or form saying that people don't suffer from mental health problems if they do. I'm the first to jump up and help if I can. But the mainstream media and, in my opinion, the powers that be have really taken this to town, if you know what I mean. The results being, you've got the younger generation specifically jumping on the bandwagon of, I'm depressed, I want to commit suicide, Life's no good. And in all due respect, in in some areas, I can understand that the state of the world today and whatever, it can be depressing. But it's almost been turned into an easy ticket, when in reality, we should be looking at our true emotions. Is it depression? Is it anxiety? Or is it anger? They're very different diseases, and obviously treated very different as well. So before we say we're depressed and suicidal, we really need to decipher whether that is the true symptoms that we're going through, and why. I don't ignore the fact that the world can make you depressed and such like, but I'm talking the true diagnosis of it, because basically what's happened over the years, these problems that we face in everyday to-day life now could have been, and should be, in my opinion, dealt with on a more personal level with your friends and family. And what they've done over the years is made us, or directed us into a way of life where that's not that easy to do anymore. Used to be able to go down the pub quite easily and chat to your mates and whatever, and problem shared is a problem halved and such like. Yeah, well, they start shutting the pubs, they start making beer expensive, they introduce cheaper alternatives in the supermarkets, in my opinion, to stop that bond of friends and family. Not only that, but we're made to work harder, work longer hours. The family unit now generally consists of both parents working, often on alternative shifts, so it separates that bond, that connection, in order to face these problems. So what did they do about that? They didn't just remove that, they introduced this system of psychologists and psychiatrists and such like. And don't get me wrong, I've been through my fair share back in the day of speaking to psychologists and psychiatrists and such like, and I've got to be honest, not one of them did me any good. They gave me pointers, they gave me ideas, but ultimately it comes back to you every time. And that covers medication as well, like antidepressants, anti-anxieties. Ultimately, they're only a very, very short-term thing. They can help, in my opinion, in my experience, they did help me, but only on a short-term basis. Long-term, they're no good. They're no good. They create addictions, they create psychological addictions as well as physical addictions where you think you need them. And all that's doing is lining the pockets of the pharmaceutical companies, in all fairness. So what have we got then? We've created a society where the younger generation now are distracted away from those examples that I've just given, like family, friends, chatting together and resolving the minor issues that don't get resolved normally and just build up and build up and build up to depressive episodes, suicidal tendencies and such like, yeah, which is no good to anyone. Just excuse my phone ringing. I can't reach it to turn it off. Hence, like I say, they introduce psychotherapists, psychologists and such like, that get paid handsomely, that in the long term, in my opinion, don't do you any real good. And then you've got all the other distractions like gaming, the music industry. I mean, just look at that. Blood and guts and gore in both arenas. the music industry, going back to, I would say I started in the 70s with my musical interests, yeah. Even though I love a lot of the 60s stuff, going back to my age as I was growing up, the 70s was when I started to relate to music. And I thank Josh, my lad, today for sort of reminding me about that, because he, at his age, 16, he's looking at, I think he said the 80s and 90s, and he's enjoying some of the music. That's good. That's good to hear. But music back then was, it had a meaning, it had a story behind it. And the music that a majority of the mainstream music that I look at nowadays is nothing but porn and, well, how can I explain it? It's disgusting. It's disgusting. You get the likes of Lady Gaga and Katy Perry and, you know, artists like that involved in some odd behaviour, almost some would almost say satanic behaviour. I have my theories on that, and I'm not going to push it on here to anybody to you know, to take my stance on it, but take a look at it. Think, you know, what is this teaching the younger generation? That's not productive. That's not making people open their eyes to what's going on. Does it really make people happy to see that sort of stuff? I mean, just take the porn industry and the music, the porn that music's involved in at the moment, yeah? I'm no prude. You know, when I was younger, you know, Dad always had the old porn magazine under the bed, and do you know what I mean, in the cupboard, and we always had a look because it's what's known as curiosity, yeah? And as soon as anybody came in, fucking hell, put it away, you know, I wasn't looking, you know. That was how we grew up. And in my mind, that satisfied the curiosity behind it, but that was enough. That was enough. It wasn't in my face, it was what I wanted to know at the time of my life when I wanted to know about it. That's called freedom of choice. Nowadays, that's not the case. Bring back the music industry, yeah? The music has a nice beat to it, if you like, yeah? This is what hooks the kids in. Then they watch the videos, because obviously the free way of getting this music isn't like we used to. We used to buy fucking records and CDs. We had to work to earn the money to afford the records. That was our entertainment in the day. If you're lucky, you had the time to listen to it on the top 40 at the end of a Sunday evening, I think it was, on the radio. But you don't get that so much now, so you go to YouTube. So you see the video, and some of the videos are horrendous, they really are. But that, in a way, is it's got to be subliminally altering the minds of the younger generation. It's got to be. It's got to have an effect on them. If it does me, I look at my age, when I've experienced a hell of a lot in life, I look and I'm like, it's cringeworthy stuff, it really is. So you take all that into consideration when we're talking about mental health now. You've got a fucking minefield of things to consider in treating mental health. So what we need to be asking ourselves is it true depression? Or rather, a multitude of areas that need to be dealt with or eradicated, in all fairness, eradicated, in order to assist in helping people combat mental health problems. So wrapping all that up to create a new era where we're going from our current situation of lockdown now, when that's lifted, if we want to get better, we want to get a better future, you've got to take all that into consideration. We don't want to be continuing with this. Kids jumping on that bandwagon of I'm suicidal, when in actual fact, Do they feel as though they can't speak? Have they never experienced? They've never experienced it, let's face it. Because all these other distractions are there for them. So they unknowingly ignore the fact that the help is there. It's on their doorstep, so to speak. It's within reach. We don't need to be reaching out to psychotherapists and psychiatrists and such like at every whim because something hasn't gone right in their lives. I'm not blaming the younger generation. I'm blaming the society that we are currently living in and bringing it to the table that it has to change. It has to change. We can't go on the way we are doing, otherwise what are their kids going to face? These are not normal times. We are here as a human race to help each other, not ignore each other, not divide each other and just say, oh, we'll go down to the pub, we'll go get pissed and I'll see my psychiatrist on Tuesday afternoon. That's not the way it should be. We're living in a world of distraction. We really are. When we should be enjoying the world that we live in. As one of my friends has pointed out today on a video, we live in a beautiful country. And yet, what's the general attitude to living in Britain at the moment? Oh, it's fucking crap. We want to move out. The amount of people that I've seen that want to live abroad, yeah. And we were there at one point, not so long ago, where we wanted a different way of life. We live in a beautiful country here. We need to be enjoying that, embracing it, getting out into the country, seeing all these places. It's a fucking vast island that we haven't explored it all. Again, that needs to be changed. We need to be fighting against those that are stopping us from doing that. And to do that, we need a better way of life. We need less working hours. We need to be more healthy. So this is a big, big challenge. Moving on and moving into a new era. We need to be pulling together. We really do. And I'm not just on about our individual generations. We're there for our kids. We're there for our older generation. We're there for our younger generation. If only we realised, woke up to the fact that the system that we are living in at the moment as a whole, everything is, in my opinion, has been created to divide. Not only distant family and friends, but close family. Me and my wife she's at work at the moment. We don't get much time in general to discuss stuff. We have now because we're in lockdown, got a lot more time. And we're lucky in that respect. But if only everybody could see that and say, well, yeah, okay then, yeah, let's give it a go. We don't need pubs to do it. We can do it on an individual level, even if it's a close friend, a brother, a sister, your partner. Discussion. Discuss how we can move forward. Don't just turn a blind eye to new information that's coming your way. Always consider that, things change, people change. I mean, something's just popped into my head about David Icke, conspiracy theorist of old. He's been in the spotlight for quite some time. I'm open-minded, and I do watch David Icke's videos. And there's certain areas of what David Icke has said over the past that I don't agree with, but that's my choice and that's his choice for saying so, yeah? But I tell you what a lot of the things that he is coming open with is coming true. It really is. Nobody can deny that. So the fact that he suggested that he was the Son of God and that the royals were lizards, came from lizards, yeah, that's what he claimed back in, I think it was the 80s, on the Terry Wogan show, was his choice at the time. He may still have that view at the moment. He may be right, who knows? But the level of consciousness that I am at the moment, that doesn't resonate with me. So that bit, I don't take on board. That does not mean that I don't watch what he has to say. Because you bring that down to a lower level. Now this is a prime example of what I'm trying to get through. You bring that down to a lower level, to a family or a friend's circle, yeah? If they was to say one thing or a couple of things that you didn't agree with, would you totally eradicate everything that they said? Well, unfortunately, that is what's happening. That is what's happening on a lower level now. Friends and families, Facebook friends breaking up, deleting, blocking. That's crazy. That's crazy. Now you think back a few years ago and it was healthy. It's called a fucking debate. Yeah? It's called a debate. Agreeing to disagree is really good. So bring that back to what I started with this video. You need to determine whether we are really anxious, really depressed, really angry, or look at it from a different angle and say, okay then, yeah, you've said something I don't agree with, yeah, that is not going to make me angry. Look at it from a different angle and say, you've got the right to feel like that. You've got the right to, because don't forget, they've lived a different life to you. They've experienced different things in life than you have. If everybody could look at that and just consider that's the way that they're going to go next step into the future, yeah, surely that's a good starting point. Be open-minded and accept people for the different mindsets that they have. Obviously, you've got to be careful not to be too open. I mean, paedophiles, for instance, there's no way on this earth I could accept stuff like that. So there are limits. So get that limit correct, yeah? Get that line correct. I've got plenty of people that I disagree with the things that they say, but I accept them for who they are. Hopefully, you can maybe consider that. I've been on here 23 minutes now, and I'm not going to leave it any longer because I've got other stuff to do to add to my pie. I'm going to maybe do a few chips or something like that. So I don't want to be on here too long. So, yeah. Are we really depressed and anxious and angry? Or is it the way we behave? Is it the way we see life in general? I'm no psychologist, I'm no psychiatrist, but I like to try and work things out in my own time, in my own mental space, yeah? And if I can help other people do that, then, yeah, that's good. That's good. And I don't want pain for it. And I don't want a title for doing that. It's called humanity. The human race. That's why it was put on here, to help each other get through what we're facing today, I'm sure. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'll catch you soon. Be lucky. Bye-bye for now.